Royal Convention Centre, we'll hear from Fianna Fáil leader Micheal Martin. Right now at the podium is Darragh O'Brien, Minister for Housing.
Worked together to bring this about. When he led us into government, he sought out many of the most difficult jobs because Fianna Fáil believe in a politics that delivers for our people. A politics of real hope and of dogged optimism. A politics inspired by the same spirit of practical patriotism that sustained the revolutionary generation that laid the foundations for this wonderful country. He has a deep graw for this rugged island in the wild edges of Europe and an unshakable faith in the immeasurable potential of our people to achieve great things. The sheer character of this man has shone through, even on the very darkest of days. He has shown both true grit and honest dignity when it counted the most. He embodies the best values and the best traditions of our country, decency, fairness, and a quiet but fierce optimism in our future. Those are timeless qualities, enduring strengths, and they're needed now more than ever. Delegates, I am proud to welcome our leader, An Tánaiste, Micheal Martin, TD.
His way to the stage, the former teacher from Cork has been leader of Fianna Fáil since 2011. He has served as Taoiseach during his tenure. He is currently Tánaiste and Minister for Foreign Affairs and Defence in a coalition government between Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Green Party.
Well, Margaret, Accorda, thank you for your welcome. Thank you for the spirit in which this ArdFheis has been held. And most of all, thank you for everything you do for our party in communities throughout our country. This ArdFheis is about positive action. Action to address urgent problems today and actions to secure a positive future for our country. And as we look to our country's future, we should remember just how much we can achieve when we work together. This year, we have marked the end of a decade of commemorations, focused particularly on our struggle for independence. There have been moments of deep pride, but also of sad reflection on lives lost and lasting divisions. In all of this, one thing stood out by every measure. Our country has seen sustained progress since independence. The poorest country in Europe, only a generation from famine, faced enormous hurdles when it sought and won independence. And since then, time and again, we have shown how the spirit of the Irish people can overcome any obstacle. The Ireland of today stands proudly as one of the oldest democracies in the world, a republic with record levels of employment and the highest population for a century and a half. Today, we face many problems, but this progress is a true vindication of those who secured our independence and built our country. And we in Fianna Fáil are proud of how, through different generations, we have worked with the people of Ireland to secure this progress. When Fianna Fáil's first meeting was chaired by Constance Markievicz, our founders had a clear vision. They were determined to show how practical republicanism could deliver real social and economic progress. A new Irish story was written with dramatic moves like a republican constitution, free education, securing international investment, joining the European Union and the historic Good Friday Agreement. But while we in Fianna Fáil are proud of these achievements, for us the priority is and must always be the future. As we meet this evening, nobody can possibly doubt the scale of the threats faced by our country and the wider world. At home and internationally, there are economic, political, social and environmental challenges which demand urgent and sustained action. Every day, we can see evidence of a world which is in deep trouble and where many find it hard to see a way forward. I have no doubt of just how serious the challenges we face are, and I also have no doubt that we can and we will overcome them. I know that this is an age when people are so often encouraged to be cynical about politics, but I believe passionately in the power of politics to deliver for people. And that is why I want to talk with you about a programme of ambitious and practical change. Change which is already starting to show progress, but which will deliver much, much more in the months and years ahead. This is a diverse democracy. To govern means to find compromises and to work with others who share core values. We respect our partners in government and our common commitment to working constructively together. Fianna Fáil is not in government to deliver just for those who voted for us. We are there to deliver for all the people of our country. And that is... and that is why we sought the toughest of ministerial challenges. There are many things which make this a unique moment in our history. In only 20 years, our population has risen by over 1 million people. People are living longer and healthier lives. Demand for expanded and improved public services is rising all of the time. The need to be more inclusive and to address the needs of all of our people is as important as ever. And Ireland's economic success cannot be taken for granted. Fianna Fáil is very clear on what we believe needs to be done. We want to invest in, to modernise and to expand key public services. We want to help people to be able to afford homes to buy or rent and to have access to social housing when they need it. We want an Ireland which shows leadership in promoting international cooperation and fundamental human rights. An Ireland which goes much, much further in securing peace, reconciliation and unity on our island. So let me outline for you some of the urgent and ambitious plans we are moving forward with. Underlying everything is the need to secure our economy as much as possible. And we are determined to deliver on this. And that is why we are creating the Future Ireland Fund. It is about protecting public services and living standards for current and future generations. We know today that our rising population and increased demand for services will create pressures. The Future Ireland Fund will be there to protect vital state supports like pensions and health services. The Ireland Future Fund is an historic development. It will be there when our people need it to deliver real and sustained benefits to every part of our country. And we also need to make sure that vital investments can continue even in a downturn when they're actually needed more than ever. And that is why we are creating the Infrastructure, Climate and Nature Fund. And this fund will be ready to ensure sustained investment in areas like transport, health, nature restoration and community facilities. And it will support the expansion of new affordable and sustainable energy sources. In all of this, our commitment is to invest in sustaining the community spirit which is central to our identity. During next year's local elections, our candidates will bring a positive message into every community in the country. And we understand that every family is today facing real pressures because of rising prices and the general cost of living. Our commitment is to help people today and also to make key services more affordable on a permanent basis. Everyone knows the huge increases in energy costs for home heating, lighting, cooking, running a car. We can and we are helping people. We are continuing with a direct credit of €450 to help every household with their energy bills. We've expanded the fuel allowance to far more people, particularly older people, and provided special extra payments. We are funding improvements in both pay and social protection to help with permanent increases in costs. And we have implemented tax reductions. But we're going much further in terms of actions to reduce other costs. Across different areas, we're cutting charges and making services more affordable on a permanent basis. A 25% reduction in childcare costs this year will be followed by another 25% reduction next year. A series of health charges, education fees and transport fares have been permanently abolished or reduced. And we're introducing new schemes. 500,000 more people have access to free GP care. Next year, 800,000 pupils will benefit from free school books for primary and junior certificate classes. These actions are about a sustainable and permanent reduction in costs. Taken together, they have and will make a big difference to family incomes. We understand the fact that helping people to afford to buy or rent a home is a defining challenge of our time. There is almost no other area where the pressure of a rising population and rising employment is felt as much. There is only one sustainable solution: build more houses to own and rent. And to deliver this, we need action on every front. Action which is underway is making a real difference. For the first time in years, we've started to make strides forward. And central to this is the Housing for All plan, which is delivering a sustained and growing increase in homes being built. I deeply understand how people can look at the difficulties of being able to get a home and be dispirited. But things are changing. By every measure of home permissions, completions, home purchases, first-time buyers and mortgage drawdowns, we are seeing positive movement. By the end of this year, 100,000 homes will have been built since we took up this challenge. We have started a new era of providing social homes in all parts of the country, with up to 30,000 delivered to date. In addition, there are over 22,000 social homes either on-site or at design and tender stage. The Land Development Agency is having a real impact, with thousands of new affordable and social homes being developed on state-owned and private land. And we believe we must support people in the private rented sector, who are particularly squeezed because of lack of available places and rising rents. We've introduced a special tax credit for every renter and a series of measures to try and maintain and increase the number of homes available for rent. The problem of derelict and vacant buildings is being targeted, with generous grant schemes and dedicated funding in every county. The facts show that every week now, 500 first-time buyers are buying a new home. We are not there yet, but for the first time in years, a real momentum is building. And it is now absolutely clear that there is a major difference between government and opposition in relation to housing. We believe that home ownership should be supported. And that is why we've expanded and created the Help to Buy and First Home schemes. And it is why we're helping thousands through dedicated schemes for affordable homes. However, the main opposition party has opposed all of these affordable housing schemes and is consistently negative towards the concept of supporting home ownership. We could not disagree more, and we will continue to support people who want to buy a home. The impact of a growing population is also felt deeply in our health services. And this year, our hospitals will handle over 6 million appointments and treatments for inpatients, outpatients, and emergency cases. More importantly, the outcomes for patients have improved in every major area. The extra doctors, nurses, other professionals and support staff who we have hired are delivering new and better services. And these services are more accessible because we have reduced and abolished many charges and introduced the biggest expansion ever of access to free GP care, with 60% of the population now having this access. The new consultants contract puts public health services first. 1,000 new hospital beds are in place and a 25% increase in new intensive care beds. The first comprehensive plan for dementia care is being implemented, with a number of well-resourced daycare centres delivered. With our focus on community, an entire new community health service, including primary care, chronic disease management and services for older people, have been built up in just 2 years. And the first ever dedicated services for women's health are in place, including menopause clinics, free contraception and state-funded IVF. We are not there yet. We have many issues where we want to deliver far more progress. For example, we are determined to significantly expand access to quality mental health services, particularly for children and young people. And we're also determined to improve access for children with additional needs to therapists and early intervention. But whatever way you look at it, the largest investment and reform programme in the history of the Irish health services can be seen on health campuses throughout the country. From the first days of our party, we've been committed to the idea that education is vital for our people and our country to succeed. Our schools are more important than ever as they work with families to help children to cope with and succeed in the face of rapid change and new pressures. We are determined to implement a programme of investment, modernisation and reform. Since we returned to government, over 650 schools have completed a major investment project and over 300 more are on site today. The pupil-teacher ratio has been reduced. We've hired additional special education teachers and special needs assistants. In addition, we're opening new special schools to provide the best possible programmes for children with additional needs. With more modern facilities and more teachers, we need curricula which reflect the reality of today's world, not that of 50 years ago. And so a major reform of the Leaving Certificate is underway, and every part of the school curriculum is under review to ensure that pupils develop the knowledge and skills they need. We've extended dedicated supports to more schools serving disadvantaged areas and addressed one of the biggest costs for parents by introducing free school books from primary up to the junior certificate. And one of the greatest challenges of today is helping children to navigate an online world, one which brings new threats and affects the ability to maintain healthy connections. And that is why we will be expanding guidelines and controls on smartphone access in schools, and every family in school will receive guidance on how to navigate this challenge with their children to keep them safe and healthy. As we have seen in recent weeks, with terrible flooding and through the year with record temperatures, climate change is not a threat for the future. It is happening right now. Across government, we are delivering sustained action on climate as well as on the loss of our biodiversity. We accept that tough decisions are required. At the core of our policy is to help families, businesses and communities to transition to more sustainable practices. We have to show that people can have both a secure long-term income and help the environment. And this is why we are investing in the retrofitting of homes and in creating a new offshore wind energy sector which will create thousands of good jobs in coastal communities. It is why we are determined to work together with farmers to help them implement innovations and practices which will secure their future with good incomes and make Ireland a world leader. Le céad bliain anuas sa stair na tíre, tá sé léirithe ag Éirinn a ríist agus sa ríist eile, an méid gur féidir le pobl na tíre seo a bhainteamach. Agus cé chomh beabhar fanúil agus atá cultúr na tíre i gcónaí. Tá tanga náisiúnta a gcuing agus í beo betheach agus ag forbairt de hir ag léirú an scéal le a bhaineann le muintir na hÉirinn. Is léir go bhfuil ar na líne agus ar le tríocht de gleathanú ar fud an domhain. Agus in a cheantaí sin, tá sprid pobl agus cultúr an sport a dhéanaan an irid sin chun pobl ilig na hÉirinn a chóirt le chéile. Ar cultúr, ar discint ar luchan na comónta, beag siad có táchtach sa todhchaí agus a bhíoch riamh an ail inamachtaí le húil na tíre. One of the great challenges for this generation remains building a lasting peace and reconciliation on our island. We believe passionately that the brightest future for all would be for us to be united. Yet we accept and understand that the first priority has to be to build understanding, respect and engagement between communities who have for too long drifted apart. The Shared Island Initiative represents the first time in our history that sustained work is being done. Under its 3 strands of dialogue, research and investment, it is deepening understanding on our island and showing what we can achieve by engagement and cooperation. And on the ground, we are seeing investment in key projects, such as the Ulster Canal, the Narrow Water Bridge, and in the McGee campus of Ulster University, linking communities and supporting our mutual interests. There is no doubt that over time, the Shared Ireland Initiative will be seen as marking a decisive and lasting move forward for peace and reconciliation on our island. From our first days, we have been a Republican Party committed to international cooperation, fundamental rights and peacekeeping. And tonight, delegates, we thank our Irish peacekeepers serving in the Middle East and elsewhere for their courage in the pursuit of that most noble calling of all, peacekeeping. Delegates, the brutal savagery of Hamas has no justification whatsoever. And no one who believes in core human values should have a problem saying this. And Israel has a fundamental obligation to respond within the boundaries of international humanitarian law. Civilians must be protected. The unfolding tragedy and the rising toll of lost lives, and especially of children, simply has to stop. We urgently need a humanitarian ceasefire. We need all hostages to be released. And we need a significant scaling up of vital supplies for civilians and especially medical supplies. This terrible conflict is achieving nothing but death and misery. It needs to stop. And we also stand resolutely with the people of Ukraine as they fight against Putin's attempt to destroy their independence and impose a new Russian empire. This evil must not be allowed to prevail, and Ireland will always speak up for a proud European democracy determined to protect its freedoms. Fianna Fáil is clear that we support Ukraine in its application to join the European Union, which remains one of the greatest achievements of modern times. Absolutely central to our development as a country has been the decision to join the now European Union. Fianna Fáil's leaders had to take their case to the Irish people that the only way to secure our future, to promote Ireland's interests in the world, was to join with a strong and active union. And we should all be deeply thankful that they won that fight. The union is not perfect, but it is a fundamental foundation for progress in our country. And it's important to remember that on many foreign policy matters, there are different opinions. Unanimity is hard, but we can reach agreement, as we did with our agreement to provide aid and call for a humanitarian pause in Gaza. And at this moment, when the Union faces dramatic threats, there must be no doubt where we stand. Ireland must stand with Europe. Ireland must stand against the corrosive Euroscepticism and anti-democratic regimes which seek to undermine the Union. We can see in our nearest neighbour the damage which unchecked anti-EU politics can cause. We respect their right to leave, but we must never, ever allow Euroscepticism to go unchallenged. And that is why next year's European elections are so vital. In spite of how important the EU is for us, many of Ireland's MEPs are aggressively anti-EU. I am proud that in Billy Kelleher and Barry Andrews, Fianna Fáil has two MEPs who are known for their hard work and commitment on behalf of the people of Ireland. It is time for all of us who value the European Union, who see it as vital to Ireland's interests, to stand up against those who want Ireland to take a radically damaging anti-EU direction. According we in Fianna Fáil believe that politics has to be about both addressing the challenges of today and building a secure future. Those who always talk down our country, who claim that nothing has been achieved in 100 years, are not serious about trying to help people. They're only serious about playing politics. But when you see how far our country has come, you see a country with the capacity to achieve great things. We can and will provide security for our future with the Ireland Future Fund. We can and will reduce pressure on people facing major price rises today and work to make key services more affordable on a permanent basis. We can and will deliver more affordable housing, more social housing and direct supports for renters. We can and will modernise, expand and make more accessible vital public services such as health and education. We can and will make Ireland a leader, not just in addressing the environmental crisis, but also providing a secure future for rural communities and family farms. We can and will build a permanent peace and reconciliation amongst all who share this island. We can, we will, we must stand with our European partners to promote shared prosperity and the fundamental values of democracy. The next chapter of Ireland's story will be one where, building on work well underway, we show that we can and will deliver a prosperous and inclusive Ireland. Thank you.
A standing ovation there for Fianna Fáil leader Micheal Martin from party colleagues in a speech outlining the importance of protecting Ireland's economic success, promoting international cooperation and the ongoing challenge of building a lasting peace on the island. He reiterated calls for a humanitarian ceasefire in the Middle East and spoke of Fianna Fáil's support of Ukraine in its application to join the European Union. That's all from our coverage of the Fianna Fáil Ard Fheis at the Dublin Royal Convention Centre. From Dublin, good evening.